Orpheus and the Buffering Bride. Boring Greek myth. Night settles over the city like velvet, and in one high window a single progress bar glows. Thin, patient, and impossibly slow. Yet this isn't the start of a soaring love ballad. It's the loading screen for history's most fragile rescue mission. Orpheus sits beside his silent guitar, watching green pixels inch forward as though each one must travel the length of the underworld. The hum of hard drives and distant traffic weave together, soft as lullabies. Somewhere in that quiet code drifts Eurydice, a song trapped in a server's shadow, waiting for one flawless download to carry her home. With every exhale, Orpheus whispers patience into the flicker of the screen, believing that if he can hold his gaze steady and his heart steady longer than the wheel can spin, love will buffer back into being. So begins a hush-lit story of a musician, a missing melody, and the slowest network quest ever undertaken, an ancient myth retold in midnight megabytes, meant to lull more than to thrill, and to show that even hope moves at its own unhurried pace. Chapter 1. The Glitch in the Underworld. The apartment was a study in minimalist chic, all sharp angles and muted grays. Sunlight, filtered through the expansive city view windows, illuminated dust motes dancing in the air, a silent ballet performed only for Orpheus. He sat hunched over his sleek obsidian black workstation, the glow of the screen reflecting in his hollow eyes. Empty coffee cups and discarded energy drink cans formed a chaotic constellation around him, testament to sleepless nights spent navigating the digital labyrinth of grief. Outside, the city throbbed with a frenetic energy, a stark contrast to the stillness of his apartment, a sanctuary transformed into a tomb. Eurydice was gone, not in the traditional heart-wrenching sense of mortality. No, her passing was far more digital. A misplaced click, a rogue deletion, a catastrophic failure of her cloud storage, and poof, vanished, like a whisper erased by the wind, or a song deleted from an overflowing hard drive. He'd been a fool, hadn't he? Always boasting about the perfect digital backup system, the impenetrable cloud fortress safeguarding their shared memories, their collaborative playlists, their digital life. Irony, he thought, was a cruel mistress, particularly when draped in the silken threads of technological failure. His fingers, usually nimble and quick across the keyboard, composing symphonies of sound, now moved sluggishly, tracing the jagged edges of his despair. He'd tried everything. He'd contacted the cloud service provider, enduring an endless loop of automated responses, each more unhelpful than the last. He'd scoured online forums, desperate for a glimmer of hope, a whisper of a solution. And then he found it, a thread buried deep within the shadowy corners of a forgotten forum. A clandestine gathering of digital necromancers whispered tales of Hades. Not the lord of the underworld, mind you, but a sysadmin, a digital deity of the outdated server farm where the ghosts of deleted data lingered. A grumpy, overworked administrator drowning in an ocean of lost files. The legend, or rather the legend in the making, spoke of his ability to retrieve even the most stubbornly deleted data for a price. The price naturally was steep, not in monetary terms but in patience, a complete data transfer, an eternity stretched into the agonizing duration of a slow internet connection on a dial-up modem. Orpheus scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. He, Orpheus, the master of his digital domain, reduced to pleading with the tech support god for the return of his wife. It was absurd, theatrical, hilariously tragic. He'd faced down roaring crowds demanding encores, but the prospect of waiting for a full data transfer to complete felt like an insurmountable mountain. A digital Mount Olympus, impossible to conquer. His fingers flew across the keyboard, composing an email as frantic and desperate as a dying man's plea. He detailed Eurydice's accidental deletion, the devastating loss, the emptiness that gnawed at his soul. He pleaded, he begged, he even threw in a link to his latest album, hoping to charm the digital Hades. The response, when it came, was curt, bordering on rude. A string of terse sentences, devoid of sympathy or empathy, detailing the procedure, the time estimate, a ludicrously long period, measured in what felt like millennia, and the stark warning about interrupting the transfer. The email ended with Hades's digital address, a cryptic string of numbers and symbols, a password less obvious than the password to a well-protected kingdom. But with a sliver of hope, Orpheus typed the details into his browser and pressed enter. A new window appeared, a portal opening onto the other side, the digital underworld. His breath hitched as he stared at the image that materialized. A server room that looked like something straight out of a cyberpunk nightmare. Flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting long, distorted shadows on the labyrinthine tangle of cables. These cables, a tangled mass of wires snaking across the floor, resembled the river Styx, a treacherous passage into the depths of forgotten data. Outdated servers hummed and whirred like some forgotten deity, their cooling fans creating a cacophony of noise that echoed the despair in Orpheus's heart. Rows upon rows of aging hard drives, blinking lights, and the unmistakable smell of ozone hung heavy in the air. It was a digital graveyard, a monument to lost files, abandoned dreams, and shattered hopes. He spotted flickering screens displaying error messages, the ghosts of failed downloads, their pleas for salvation echoing in the digital void. They were all trapped, and he felt with a sinking heart that he might join their ranks. And then he saw him, Hades. Not a majestic figure of myth, but a weary, middle-aged sysadmin with bloodshot eyes and a perpetually unkempt beard. He was slumped over a keyboard, surrounded by empty coffee cups, a digital Cerberus guarding the gates of the lost and the gone. Orpheus in that moment understood. Hades wasn't evil. He was just overwhelmed, trapped in a never-ending cycle of data recovery requests. The irony was almost unbearable. He, the celebrated musician, was at the mercy of a disgruntled tech support worker, facing down a download progress bar that moved at the speed of glacial melt. This was his modern trial, his digital descent into the underworld. And the river Styx? It was the download progress bar, a torturously slow crawl toward a possible reunion. Or perhaps a deeper, more agonizing separation. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. The wait began. A wait that would test his patience, his will, and ultimately, his ability to cope with the cruel realities of modern-day loss. The digital underworld awaited. The server room hummed with a low, persistent thrum, a discordant symphony of whirring fans and clicking hard drives. The air hung thick with the metallic tang of ozone and the faint, acrid scent of burnt coffee, a potent cocktail of digital despair. Orpheus, accustomed to the controlled chaos of a concert hall, found himself utterly overwhelmed. This wasn't the elegant, ethereal underworld of myth. It was a technological purgatory, a chaotic jumble of wires, blinking lights, and the ghosts of deleted files. Cables, thick as pythons, snaked across the floor, a chaotic representation of the river Styx, only instead of souls being ferried across, here it was data streams, constantly threatening to trip the unwary. Outdated servers, their cases speckled with dust, and bearing the scars of countless power surges, stood like ancient sentinels, their cooling fans a relentless chorus of mechanical sighs. Flickering screens displayed a litany of error messages, their cryptic codes like epitaphs for lost digital souls. Orpheus felt a shiver crawl down his spine. This wasn't just a server room, it was a digital graveyard. He had expected something grander, a throne room of some sort. Perhaps a throne carved from silicon or a scepter crafted from fiber optics. Instead, he found himself in a space that resembled a neglected storage closet more than a domain of the dead. The walls were bare concrete, the lighting harsh and unforgiving, revealing the grime that clung to every surface. The overall aesthetic was less god of the underworld and more abandoned data center, a hilariously underwhelming juxtaposition that only served to accentuate the absurdity of his situation. In the midst of this digital wasteland, slumped over a keyboard like a defeated warrior, sat Hades, not the imposing, shadowy figure of myth, but a middle-aged man whose weary eyes and perpetually unkempt beard spoke volumes about the endless, thankless task before him. He resembled a seasoned tech support representative who'd spent far too long battling the demons of corrupted files and unresponsive networks. Empty coffee cups ringed him like fallen soldiers, a testament to the caffeine-fueled battles he fought night after night. Orpheus couldn't help but feel a strange kinship with this digital deity. The man was clearly drowning in a sea of data, a tidal wave of recovery requests, each more demanding than the last. He was the ultimate digital shepherd, herding a flock of lost files, each one a tiny lost soul in need of rescue. The weight of an eternity of data restoration requests pressed down on him, visible in the slump of his shoulders and the tired bags under his eyes. Hades looked up, his gaze meeting Orpheus's with a weary skepticism. He didn't utter the fiery pronouncements of the mythical Hades. Instead, he sighed, a sound heavy with the exhaustion of years spent wrestling with malfunctioning hardware and impossible deadlines. "So," he began, his voice raspy, "you're the musician, the one who lost his wife to digital oblivion?" His voice held no malice, only the weary resignation of someone who had seen it all before. "Another one." "Let me guess, cloud storage failure?" Orpheus nodded, his throat tight with emotion. He explained the circumstances, the accidental deletion, the desperate search for a solution, the whispers of Hades and his legendary, or perhaps more accurately, his legendary in the making ability to restore the lost and deleted. He spoke of his wife, Eurydice, her laughter, her smile, her presence that now existed only as a series of ones and zeros, trapped somewhere in the endless labyrinth of the digital underworld. Hades listened, nodding occasionally, his expression unchanging. When Orpheus finished, a long silence hung between them, broken only by the relentless whirring of the server room's machinery. Finally, Hades spoke, his voice devoid of any theatrical flair. "I can retrieve her," he said, "but it'll take time. A complete data transfer. And you absolutely, positively cannot interrupt the process. One wrong move, and she's gone for good, lost in the digital ether forever." Orpheus, familiar with the frustrations of waiting for even a small file to download, shuddered. "How long?" he asked, bracing himself for the answer. Hades leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "Let's just say it'll be a while. Think geological time. The speed of a glacier carving its path through a mountain. The time it takes for a star to complete its life cycle. It's essentially an eternity." The humor in the situation wasn't lost on Orpheus. He, the celebrated musician, master of his art, was at the mercy of a download progress bar. His fate, the fate of his digital wife, hung in the balance, suspended in the digital purgatory of a slow internet connection. The irony was so profoundly absurd it bordered on the comedic. "Fine," Orpheus said, a mixture of resignation and determination in his voice. "I'll wait." He understood the gravity of the situation, the delicate dance between hope and despair that played out in the flickering lights of the server room. He braced himself for the long haul, for an eternity of waiting that would test his patience, his sanity, and his love. Hades, without any fanfare, began the process. A series of commands, typed with the practiced ease of someone intimately familiar with the arcane language of the machine, began the seemingly impossible task of retrieving Eurydice's profile from the digital grave. A progress bar appeared on one of the screens, its tiny green sliver inching across the screen with the speed of a snail traversing a desert. It was a slow, agonizing crawl towards an uncertain future, a journey measured not in seconds or minutes but in eons. The wait began, a digital version of the timeless trial Orpheus had faced before, only this time the torment wasn't Cerberus or the trials of the Underworld, but the maddening slowness of a data transfer. The whirring of the servers, the hum of the cooling fans, the rhythmic clicking of the hard drives. It all became a soundtrack to his despair, a constant reminder of the agonizingly slow process of retrieving his lost love. He watched, mesmerized and horrified, as the progress bar, his only guide through this digital purgatory, crawled across the screen at a pace that mocked his impatience. And in the sterile, echoing silence of Hades's server room, in the midst of the humming machines and blinking lights, Orpheus began his vigil. He was ready to wait, patiently if he could, for his digital Eurydice. He was ready to endure, to persevere, to wait for an eternity for the agonizingly slow download of his beloved to complete. His modern descent into the underworld had begun, and he was armed only with patience and a desperate hope that wouldn't fail him in this strangest, most unexpected of quests. The fate of his digital wife hung in the balance, a testament to the absurdity and tragedy of digital loss, played out in the heart of a hilariously dysfunctional server room. The progress bar, a mockingly tiny sliver of green against a vast expanse of gray, crawled across the screen with the glacial pace of a tectonic plate shift. Orpheus stared, transfixed, his gaze glued to its agonizingly slow advance. It was the digital equivalent of the river Styx, a relentless, meandering stream of ones and zeros, carrying Eurydice's digital essence toward a shore that seemed impossibly distant. He felt a strange kinship with the ancient ferryman, Charon, only this Charon was a series of complex algorithms, and his boat, a hopelessly overloaded data stream. Around him, the server room hummed with a cacophony of whirring fans and clicking hard drives, a relentless mechanical heartbeat accompanying his vigil. He noticed, scattered amongst the towering servers, discarded hard drives, their surfaces scratched and dented, like ancient tombstones marking the graves of lost digital souls. Each drive whispered a silent story of forgotten files, deleted photos, and abandoned projects, the ghosts of downloads past, each a tragicomedy of its own. He saw a hard drive labeled Grandma's Recipe Book, a poignant reminder of countless lost family memories, reduced to inert metal and silicon. Next to it lay a drive labeled The Great American Novel, its potential unfulfilled, a testament to the crushing weight of writer's block amplified by a corrupted file system. He even spotted a drive marked World Peace Initiative V, 1.0 inches. Ironically, the failure of this particular digital crusade seemed almost comical in the vast context of the server room's chaotic symphony. The air grew heavy with a strange mix of ozone and despair, the scent of burnt coffee. A permanent fixture in this digital underworld hung thick in the air, a testament to Hades's tireless struggle against the forces of technological chaos. Orpheus's own stomach growled, a low rumble punctuating the mechanical symphony of the server room. He hadn't eaten since he'd arrived, his focus entirely absorbed by the agonizingly slow progress bar, a digital Sisyphean task that stretched out before him like an eternity. He thought of the original myth, of his descent into the actual underworld, the monstrous Cerberus, the rivers of fire and brimstone. He'd face those trials with a lyre in hand, his music soothing the savage beasts and softening the hearts of the gods. Here, his weapon was patience, his only song the low hum of the servers, a monotonous tune that tested the limits of human endurance. The flickering lights cast strange shadows across the room, creating an ethereal glow that added to the surreal atmosphere. The rows of servers stood like ancient obelisks, monuments to the relentless march of technological progress, their cooling fans a constant reminder of the heat generated by the digital struggle within. He noticed a flickering light on one of the older machines, a desperate, dying gasp from a server clearly struggling to keep up. Its light pulsed weakly, a digital heartbeat slowing to a stop before the machine fell silent. Another fallen soldier in the ongoing war against digital obsolescence. Hours bled into days. Orpheus lost track of time, the only marker being the glacial pace of the progress bar. He tried to occupy himself, attempting to compose a song about his plight, his lyre a silent companion in this digital purgatory. But the melody eluded him, his creative spirit stifled by the monotonous rhythm of the whirring servers and the slow, agonizing crawl of the progress bar. He attempted to read, pulling out a battered copy of Homer's Odyssey from his bag, a symbolic parallel to his own journey. But the words blurred, his focus constantly drawn back to the screen, his mind obsessed with the relentlessly slow data transfer. The Odyssey seemed to mock his current situation. Even Odysseus's 10-year journey paled in comparison to the eons he seemed destined to spend waiting. He tried to sleep, but the constant hum of the servers, the rhythmic clicking of the hard drives, the flickering lights, all conspired against him, creating an insomnia that mirrored the endless wait ahead. He leaned against a cold server rack, the metal biting into his weary body, a tangible representation of the digital cold that seemed to permeate this realm of lost files and failed downloads. The other lost souls in this digital underworld, the ghosts of failed downloads, began to take on an almost palpable presence. He could almost hear their silent cries, their digital screams echoing in the cavernous space. He imagined them swirling around him, a ghostly chorus of incompleted tasks, unfinished projects, and lost memories, all victims of the same unforgiving digital fate that had befallen his Eurydice. Days morphed into weeks. The progress bar, initially a source of morbid fascination, now seemed less a gauge of progress and more a cruel taunt, a constant reminder of the vast distance between him and his goal. He wondered if he would ever see the end, if this digital eternity would ever come to an end. Doubt, a chilling serpent, began to coil around his heart, whispering insidious suggestions of futility and hopelessness. He considered giving up. He considered disconnecting, walking away, accepting the permanent loss of Eurydice's digital presence. But the memory of her smile, the phantom echoes of her laughter, fueled his determination. He would wait, he would endure, he would see this process through to its conclusion, no matter how long it might take. He clung to the fragile hope that, in the end, the agonizing wait would be rewarded, that his digital Eurydice would be restored, even if it took an eternity to download her back to life. The rhythmic hum of the server room continued, the constant reminder of his ceaseless vigil, and in the heart of Hades' digital kingdom, Orpheus waited, a modern-day Orpheus in an absurd, technologically infused underworld, his fate hanging in the balance of a download progress bar. His journey was a testament to the human capacity for endurance, a poignant blend of technological frustration and mythological heartbreak, the absurd comedy of human endeavor amidst the relentless march of digital time. The buffering sticks, an endless expanse of data, seemed to stretch out before him, a river of frustration and hope, flowing ever onward toward an uncertain future. The hum of the servers, once a monotonous drone, now seemed to morph into a siren song, lulling him into a state of semi-conscious distraction. A tiny, almost imperceptible flicker on the edge of his vision caught his eye. A notification on his ancient, battered smartphone. It was a notification from the streaming service he hadn't used in ages. A new season of his favorite mythological sitcom, Gods Among Us, had dropped. The lure of escape, of forgetting even momentarily the agonizing weight, was almost overwhelming. His fingers twitched, a primal urge taking hold. He considered it, the seductive whisper of digital dopamine promising a brief respite from his digital purgatory. The flickering images of heroic gods battling epic monsters, a stark contrast to his own pathetic struggle against a lagging download, seemed incredibly tempting. He could lose himself in the escapism, forget about the tiny sliver of green inching its way across the screen. Just a few episodes, he reasoned, a tiny sliver of distraction, a digital balm for his weary soul. After all, a small break wouldn't hurt, would it? He knew logically that it would. He knew the dangers of distraction, the pitfalls of procrastination, the way in which these small indulgences would ultimately undermine his greater goal. It was the same temptation that had plagued Odysseus. The sirens' enchanting songs, a digital equivalent to the flashing notifications of his phone. He'd resisted the allure of Calypso's island, he reasoned. Surely he could resist the allure of a streaming service. But the temptation was strong. The promise of immediate gratification, of painless escape, was a powerful counterpoint to the slow, agonizing crawl of the download progress bar. He imagined himself immersed in the world of Gods Among Us, laughing at the comedic mishaps of the digitally rendered deities, momentarily forgetting the misery of his own situation. The episode titles flashed through his mind: Zeus's Wi-Fi password, Hades' new server farm, Aphrodite's influencer fail, each a comedic jab at the intersection of mythology and modern technology. He picked up his phone, his fingers hovering over the streaming app icon. He could almost feel the cool glass of his phone screen against his skin, the seductive pull of the brightly colored app icon a powerful siren's call. The episode thumbnails mocked him with promises of immediate satisfaction, a stark contrast to his slow, agonizing struggle. He felt a pang of guilt, a deep sense of shame, as he knew he was succumbing to the allure of distraction, the very thing he knew would ultimately hinder his progress. He hesitated, then opened his email. A flood of unread messages overwhelmed him. Notifications from social media, marketing campaigns from companies he didn't even remember signing up for, spam that threatened financial ruin and promised unrealistic returns. Each message represented a potential diversion, a different path away from the arduous task before him. He scrolled through them, his mind flitting from one distraction to the next. He opened a news article about a new AI-powered myth-writing software, an ironic twist considering his own plight. He scrolled through endless Instagram posts, each a vibrant tapestry of curated lives, carefully crafted realities that felt a universe away from the sterile hum of Hades' server room. He saw friends posting pictures of their vacations, their meals, their pets, a relentless stream of digital happiness that only amplified his feelings of isolation and despair. Then, an invitation to an online game, a real-time strategy game involving the conquest of digital realms and the subjugation of virtual monsters, popped up. It seemed a perversely apt metaphor for his own situation, a battle for control, a quest for dominion over a digital landscape. The thought of commanding armies, strategizing conquests, diverting his attention from his own hopeless weight, held a powerful appeal. He found himself caught in a digital vortex, surfing the web, scrolling through endless feeds, lost in the seductive tide of distractions. Hours bled into minutes, minutes into hours as he drifted further and further from his task. The progress bar, his initial obsession, faded into the background, obscured by the vibrant chaos of the internet. He played the game, losing himself in the strategic complexities of virtual warfare. He conquered digital kingdoms, amassed digital wealth, and crushed his virtual enemies. But even as he achieved these digital triumphs, a nagging sense of unease grew within him. The feeling of accomplishment felt hollow, the satisfaction ephemeral, a faint echo of true satisfaction. He was adrift, lost in the currents of digital distraction, the progress bar forgotten, his task unfulfilled. Suddenly, a jarring noise pulled him back from his digital reverie. A loud grinding noise like a digital scream reverberated throughout the server room. He looked up, his heart pounding in his chest. The progress bar on his screen was gone, replaced by a single terrifying word, error. His digital Eurydice, his carefully downloaded wife, was lost. The data transfer had failed. His attempts at digital salvation had been undone by his own momentary lapse in focus. The temptation of terabytes, the myriad distractions of the digital world, had triumphed once again. His heart sank, the weight of his failure as heavy as the hum of the silent servers. He was alone, lost and utterly defeated in the silent, unforgiving darkness of Hades's server room. The weight of his failure was crushing, a palpable reminder of the fickle nature of digital existence and the all-too-human tendency to succumb to temptation. The grinding halt of the servers was deafening, a physical manifestation of his failure. The screen, once a beacon of hope, now mocked him with a stark crimson error message. His carefully orchestrated plan, his meticulous downloading of Eurydice's digital essence, had crumbled to dust. The green progress bar, that tiny sliver of hope, was gone, swallowed by the digital abyss. It was a digital equivalent of the final fatal plunge into the river Styx, only this time there was no boatman, no coin, and certainly no redemption. A wave of nausea washed over him. He felt the cold sweat prickling his skin, a chilling contrast to the oppressive heat emanating from the whirring servers. The air hung thick and heavy, suffocating him with the weight of his failure. He sank to his knees, the metallic scent of the server room filling his nostrils, a peculiar blend of ozone and despair. The door to the server room slammed shut with a force that shook the very foundations of the room, sending tremors through the already unstable network. The sound was deafening, a furious roar that seemed to echo the wrath of Hades himself. The sudden darkness was complete, punctuated only by the faint, intermittent flicker of emergency lights, casting long, distorted shadows that danced across the cold, metallic surfaces. The hum of the servers, once a constant companion, was gone, replaced by an unnerving silence, a void that seemed to suck the very air from his lungs. Orpheus knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that Hades was not merely displeased, he was enraged. The interruption, the premature check of the download progress, the audacious breach of digital protocol had provoked the god's fury. This was not the gentle, bureaucratic Hades of the paperwork and processing fees. This was the wrathful, ancient god of the underworld, and he had made his displeasure abundantly clear. The silence stretched on, each second an eternity, punctuated only by the frantic beat of Orpheus's heart. He could feel the weight of his actions, the catastrophic consequences of his impatience, bearing down on him with an unbearable intensity. He imagined Hades, his digital visage contorted in a mask of fury, pacing the corridors of his server farm, muttering imprecations in ancient Greek interspersed with curses on lagging network speeds and poorly optimized code. The situation was farcical, a ludicrous blend of ancient mythology and modern technology. Here he was, a renowned musician, a master of the lyre, reduced to a whimpering supplicant in a dimly lit server room, the victim of a catastrophic download failure. The irony was not lost on him, but the humor provided no solace. His heart ached with a profound loss, a loss that extended beyond the digital realm and resonated deep within his soul. The loss of Eurydice, both in the digital and more importantly in the real world, was a wound that refused to heal. He reached out blindly, his fingers brushing against the cold, unyielding metal of the server rack. He traced the contours of the equipment, the sleek lines of the hardware, a stark contrast to the chaotic mess of his own emotions. The digital world, so precise and orderly in its functionality, had betrayed him, mirroring the unpredictable nature of fate itself. He thought of the original myth, the poignant story of his descent into the underworld, his bargaining with Hades, his desperate plea to bring his wife back from the land of shadows. He had succeeded then, albeit temporarily, through the power of his music. But here in this digital wasteland, his music was useless, his lyre a silent testament to his inadequacy. His modern quest, a technological reimagining of an ancient tragedy, had ended in a spectacular failure. The technology, so often hailed as a tool of progress and innovation, had become his nemesis. The digital underworld, with its lagging downloads and buffering screens, had proven to be a more formidable adversary than any mythical beast. The darkness seemed to press down on him, amplifying his feelings of despair and isolation. The air was thick with the weight of his failure, the silence deafening. He sat alone in the oppressive darkness, the echoes of the slamming door a constant reminder of his inadequacy. His digital Eurydice was lost, irretrievably gone, swallowed by the unforgiving void of the digital underworld. He remembered the lure of distraction, the insidious whisper of the streaming app, the siren's call of the online game. He had succumbed to the temptation, allowing his focus to waver, his resolve to crumble. His impatience, a common human failing, had cost him dearly. The parallel to the original myth was striking. He had disobeyed the crucial instruction, the explicit warning not to look back, not to check the download progress prematurely. In the original tale, his glance back had shattered the fragile hope of Eurydice's return. In this digital adaptation, his impatience had caused a system crash, a catastrophic failure that rendered his efforts futile. The weight of his failure settled upon him, heavy and suffocating. He had lost Eurydice twice, once in the real world and now again in the digital realm. The repetition of the tragedy only served to amplify his grief, to deepen his sense of despair. The laughter of the Gods Among Us sitcom, the virtual conquests of the strategy game, all seemed cruelly ironic in light of his present misery. He was alone, lost in the digital underworld, a victim of his own weaknesses, his own hubris. The technology, so seductive and promising, had ultimately betrayed him, leaving him stranded in a cold, dark server room, with nothing but the echoes of his failure to keep him company. The silence was broken only by the erratic ticking of the emergency lights, a morbid metronome marking the passage of time and the crushing weight of his loss. The modern retelling of his ancient tragedy was complete, a technologically advanced, hilariously tragic yet ultimately heartbreaking failure. He was alone, defeated, and utterly heartbroken. The hum of the servers, once a monotonous drone, was replaced by the deafening silence of his despair. The digital underworld, it seemed, was a realm as unforgiving as the one described in the ancient myths. Chapter 2. The Echoes of the Digital Underworld. The door to Hades' server room remained stubbornly shut, a physical manifestation of his exclusion from Eurydice's digital afterlife. Orpheus stumbled back to his apartment, the rhythmic pulse of his footsteps a counterpoint to the erratic drumming of his heart. His usually vibrant, meticulously organized space felt sterile, a reflection of the emptiness gnawing at his soul. The faint scent of ozone, a lingering ghost of the server room, clung to his clothes, a constant, unwelcome reminder of his failure. He collapsed onto his couch, the plush cushions offering little comfort. The vibrant colors of his gaming setup, usually a source of joy and escape, now seemed mockingly bright against the gray backdrop of his despair. The irony wasn't lost on him. Here he was, a man renowned for his mastery of the lyre, a musician capable of moving gods and mortals alike with his melodies, now reduced to seeking solace in the pixelated worlds of video games. The initial numbness had given way to a relentless wave of grief. It was a grief amplified by the absurdity of the situation. He hadn't just lost Eurydice, he'd lost her twice. Once in the real world, and again in this bizarre, technologically advanced recreation of the underworld. The memory of her laughter, her smile, the gentle touch of her hand played on a loop in his mind, a bittersweet soundtrack to his despair. He reached for his controller, his fingers fumbling with the familiar buttons. The familiar rumble of the controller in his hands was a small comfort, a tactile anchor in the swirling chaos of his emotions. He launched his favorite game, a sprawling fantasy epic with breathtaking graphics and a complex narrative. But the vibrant colors, the epic battles, the intricate storylines all seemed muted, devoid of their usual appeal. The joy had been drained from the experience. He found himself playing mindlessly, his actions robotic, his focus adrift. He wasn't engaging with the game's narrative. He was merely existing within it, a ghost navigating a digital world as bleak and desolate as his own emotional landscape. The character's triumphs felt hollow, their struggles irrelevant. His virtual victories were meaningless, offering no sense of satisfaction or accomplishment. They were mere distractions, fleeting escapes from the crushing weight of his loss. Days blurred into a monotonous cycle of gaming and grief. He ate little, slept less, his apartment transforming into a sanctuary of solitude and despair. Empty takeout containers and crumpled energy drink cans littered the coffee table, silent witnesses to his self-imposed isolation. The once pristine surfaces of his gaming setup were dusted with the fine film of neglect. The glow of his monitor cast an eerie light on his pale face, highlighting the dark circles under his eyes. He tried different games, hoping to find some flicker of the joy he once felt. He explored vast open-world landscapes, engaged in exhilarating first-person shooters, and strategized his way through complex turn-based battles. But nothing could pierce the veil of his grief. The escapism was illusory, a temporary reprieve that always ended with him staring at the blank screen, the weight of his loss settling back upon him with renewed intensity. The chat notifications from his online gaming community pinged incessantly, a reminder of a world continuing its merry existence while he was trapped in the depths of his despair. He saw messages asking about his absence, inquiries about upcoming raids and battles, a world that moved on, oblivious to his profound, solitary grief. He even found himself logging into dating sims, the irony not lost on him. He, Orpheus, legendary musician, was seeking solace in virtual relationships, a pale imitation of the profound connection he'd lost with Eurydice. The digital women, meticulously crafted and perfectly compliant, offered only a fleeting sense of companionship, an ephemeral distraction from the gaping hole in his heart. He tried to explain his situation to his online friends, his words clumsy and inadequate, a mere whisper in the face of his monumental sorrow. They offered words of comfort, suggested group therapy sessions, and offered to play games with him. Their kindness was palpable, but their attempts at cheering him up felt superficial, a flimsy attempt to patch a hole that couldn't be mended. One day, amidst the pixelated chaos of a particularly violent battle, a realization dawned on him. His attempt at escapism was not working. The games, once a refuge, had become a mirror reflecting his emotional state. The relentless violence, the constant struggle for survival, the unattainable goals, they mirrored his own internal turmoil. He was, in essence, recreating his grief within the virtual worlds he inhabited, replaying his failure on an endless loop. The games, once a source of joy and escape, were now a constant reminder of his loss. The vibrant worlds, the epic quests, the satisfying victories, none of it mattered. They all felt shallow, insignificant in the face of his real-world tragedy. The digital realm, once a sanctuary, had become a prison, reflecting the despair that had completely consumed him. He slowly turned off his computer, the silence of the room more deafening than the whirring servers of Hades's digital underworld. He sat staring out of the window at the city lights twinkling in the distance, each light a small, distant spark of hope in the vast darkness of his grief. He knew he couldn't stay trapped in this digital purgatory. He needed to find a way to process his grief, to heal, and to somehow, some way, find a path forward. His digital failure was a stark reflection of his larger struggle, a reminder that even in the face of technological marvels, the power of human connection and the inevitability of loss remained constant. The grieving gamer realized that the only way out of the digital abyss was to face the pain, not to escape it. His journey to heal was only just beginning. The silence in his apartment felt heavy, but now it was no longer the silence of despair, but the pregnant silence of the beginning of a new quest, far more challenging than any digital underworld. The glow of his monitor, once a comforting companion, now felt like a malevolent eye watching his descent into despair. He'd spent the last few days in a haze of grief, punctuated only by the rhythmic clicking of his keyboard as he submitted support tickets to Hades Tech, the shadowy corporation that apparently managed the digital underworld. His first ticket was a masterpiece of eloquent pleading, a digital lament worthy of his lyre. He detailed his loss, his unwavering love for Eurydice, and the catastrophic download failure that had ripped her from his digital grasp. He invoked the names of ancient gods and modern CEOs, hoping to pierce the bureaucratic veil and reach a sympathetic ear. The response was a canned, automated message thanking him for his patience and assuring him that his issue was a priority. Ticket number 2 was shorter, sharper, laced with a bitterness that surprised even him. He accused Hades Tech of negligence, of digital manslaughter. He threatened lawsuits, divine retribution, and a very public online shaming. The response? Another canned message identical to the first. Ticket number 3 was a rambling, incoherent mess, a digital stream of consciousness reflecting the chaos in his own mind. He included screenshots of the error messages, audio files of his mournful improvisations on the lyre, and a scanned copy of his marriage certificate, a relic of a life that now felt irrevocably lost. The automated response remained unchanged. Days bled into nights as Orpheus continued his Sisyphean task, each ticket a tiny, desperate cry into the digital void. He tried different approaches, formal, informal, aggressive, apologetic, even humorous, peppering his requests with ancient Greek proverbs and memes referencing the frustrating realities of online customer service. He imagined a team of faceless employees in Hades Tech's call center, diligently sorting through thousands of similar tickets, each one a tale of digital woe. He pictured them, weary and overworked, their fingers numb from typing canned responses, their souls as barren as a desert landscape. He found a grim kind of solidarity in their shared plight. The automated responses became a source of morbid fascination. He analyzed them, searching for hidden messages, subtle variations, any indication that a real human being was on the other end of the digital line. He even attempted to hack the system, a desperate attempt to bypass the automated gatekeepers and reach a live representative, a digital version of scaling the walls of the underworld. His efforts were fruitless. The automated system remained impassive, a digital monolith impervious to his pleas, his threats, his tears. The only variation came in the subject lines, which simply reflected the ticket numbers. Ticket 47, ticket 102, ticket 317, a relentless chronicle of his escalating despair. Amidst the digital despair, Orpheus began to explore other avenues of digital connection. He scoured the digital underworld, attempting to find other grieving spouses, anyone who could help him navigate the bureaucratic labyrinth of Hades Tech's support system. He found online forums dedicated to digital afterlife issues, filled with posts detailing similar experiences, stories of lost data, broken downloads, and the agonizing struggle to reclaim loved ones from the cold, uncaring digital realm. He discovered that his situation was not unique. There were dozens, hundreds of others suffering similar fates. The forums became a strange form of digital community, a haven for those who had lost their loved ones in the digital realm. People shared their struggles, their hopes, their despair. It was a space of collective grief and mutual support, a shared understanding of the frustrations and absurdities of their shared plight. One user, a woman named Persephone, shared a particularly poignant story of losing her grandmother, whose digital persona had been accidentally deleted due to a server error. Orpheus felt a kinship with her, a shared understanding of the peculiar grief associated with losing someone in the digital world. There was something both intangible and profoundly real in this shared experience. The forum became a distraction, a break from his relentless barrage of support tickets. The stories shared offered a flicker of hope, a shared understanding that his grief wasn't isolated, that his struggle wasn't unique. Yet, the sense of community offered little solace in his specific situation. His own personal hell was still unrelieved. He continued to send tickets even as the futility of his actions became increasingly apparent. He found himself writing increasingly long and detailed tickets that documented everything from his initial failure, his numerous attempts to recover Eurydice, and his detailed attempts to connect with Hades Tech customer support. The tickets became longer and longer, a form of digital journal, a chronicle of his grief and frustration. He meticulously documented every interaction, every automated response, every flicker of hope, and subsequent crushing disappointment. The tickets themselves became a form of digital art, a testament to his unwavering dedication, his persistent struggle against the indifference of the digital gods. One day he received a response unlike any before. It wasn't a canned message. It was a single cryptic line. "Consider the source code." Orpheus stared at the message, his heart pounding. Was this a breakthrough? A clue? Or another layer of the cruel game Hades Tech seemed to be playing? He studied the previous tickets, searching for patterns, hidden meanings. He scanned the source code of the Hades Tech website, a vast, labyrinthine expanse of code that seemed to stretch into infinity. The cryptic message remained a mystery, but it jolted him from his inertia. He was trapped in a cycle of self-pity and digital frustration. He needed to take a different approach. The support tickets, the forums, the digital exploration, it was all-consuming but not productive. His journey through the digital underworld had revealed the limitations of digital connections. Yet it had also led him to a new awareness and perhaps a possible path forward. The way forward was not through endless support tickets, but through a deeper understanding of the very system he was fighting. The search for Eurydice would require not just digital prowess, but a different kind of wisdom. A kind of wisdom that transcended both ancient myth and modern technology. His quest was far from over. It had perhaps just begun. The digital underworld, Orpheus discovered, wasn't just a vast server farm humming with the ghosts of deleted files. It was a sprawling metropolis of grief. He'd initially focused on his own despair, his own singular loss, but the online forums revealed a vast interconnected network of shared sorrow. He found himself spending hours reading posts, each one a digital epitaph for a lost memory, a vanished loved one, a corrupted file containing years of work, a cherished photograph reduced to a cascade of cryptic error messages. There was the tale of a young architect whose entire portfolio, years of painstaking work, vanished during a power surge, leaving him with nothing but the hollow echo of his ambition. He'd posted screenshots of the error message, a digital tombstone marking the end of his dreams. Orpheus felt the sting of recognition. This was his own story, mirrored in another's digital lament. The shared experience, the common thread of loss, transcended the specific details of their individual tragedies. Another user, a historian named Penelope, recounted the loss of her grandfather's meticulously compiled collection of digitized letters. Each letter, a priceless fragment of family history, had been erased in a single, devastating stroke of a malicious virus. Her despair resonated deeply with Orpheus. He understood the irreplaceable nature of these digital relics, the silent scream of history lost to the digital void. She hadn't simply lost data. She'd lost a tangible connection to her past, a heritage wiped clean by the ruthless efficiency of a malevolent algorithm. Her words were a chilling echo of his own experience, a reflection of the fragility of digital memories in the face of technological failure. Then there was the poignant story of a young mother whose daughter's entire digital life, videos, drawings, school projects, were lost when her laptop's hard drive failed. The raw agony in her words was palpable, a heartbreaking testament to the power of digital memories, both ephemeral and irreplaceable. She described her child's laughter, now only accessible through the blurry, fragmented echoes of what remained in the damaged files. The details of her loss, while different, were intrinsically connected to Orpheus's own suffering, the irrecoverable loss of precious memories, a void that digital technology, ironically, had created and perpetuated. These weren't just technical problems, they were existential crises played out on the stage of the digital world. Each story, a variation on the theme of loss, amplified Orpheus's own sense of isolation and despair. Yet paradoxically, it also fostered a strange sense of community. These strangers, united by their shared experiences of digital loss, formed a kind of digital support group, offering each other comfort, advice, and a shared understanding that transcended the boundaries of physical space and time. The online community became a lifeline, a virtual space where Orpheus could share his pain without the fear of judgment or misunderstanding. He found solace in the knowledge that he wasn't alone in his grief, that his struggles were shared by others who understood the unique ache of losing someone in the digital realm. The anonymity of the internet, initially a source of his frustration, now provided a haven of empathy and understanding. Orpheus participated actively in the forums, offering words of comfort and support to his fellow grievers. He shared his experiences, offering advice based on his own failures, the futility of endless support tickets, the limitations of purely technological solutions. He emphasized the importance of preserving digital memories, the necessity of regular backups, and the vital need for multiple layers of protection against digital loss. He spoke of the importance of remembering the inherent fragility of digital existence. He discovered that the digital world, despite its perceived permanence, is a surprisingly vulnerable landscape. The seemingly infinite storage capacity of cloud servers belies the fact that data, unlike physical objects, can vanish in an instant, leaving behind only the digital ghosts of what once was. He began to understand that the digital realm, with its promises of immortality and everlasting connections, is as susceptible to decay and loss as the physical world. One particularly insightful post suggested that the digital afterlife was not a perfect mirror of the physical world. It existed, but in a distorted form. The comments described a kind of data degradation where memories become fragmented, personalities become distorted, and identities become lost in the sea of digital detritus. This idea resonated with Orpheus. The fragmented nature of Eurydice's digital existence echoed the fragmented nature of his own memories, his feelings, his grief itself. He delved deeper into the technical aspects of data retrieval, poring over articles, forums, and even some obscure academic papers on digital archaeology and data recovery. He learned about file fragmentation, data corruption, and the myriad ways in which digital information can be lost forever. He started to understand the complexities of the digital underworld, its labyrinthine architecture, its unforgiving rules. It was a world of ones and zeros, but it held a profound emotional weight, a landscape of loss and longing mirrored in the human heart. The forums, initially a refuge, slowly morphed into a source of renewed determination. The collective grief spurred him to action, transforming his despair into a focused energy. He realized that simply submitting support tickets wouldn't bring Eurydice back. He needed a deeper understanding, a more profound engagement with the system itself. The cryptic message, "Consider the source code," echoed in his mind. It wasn't just a technical problem, it was a philosophical one. It was a challenge to find meaning in the digital chaos, a quest to reclaim his lost love from the fragmented remains of her digital existence. The journey was long, treacherous, filled with the ghosts of lost data and the specter of despair. But Orpheus, armed with a renewed sense of purpose and a newfound understanding of the digital underworld, was ready to continue his quest. The digital afterlife, with all its complexities and contradictions, held a deeper truth than he had initially realized. The search for Eurydice was not just about retrieving a lost file. It was about confronting the limitations of technology, the ephemeral nature of digital memory, and the enduring power of love in the face of death, be it digital or otherwise. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of the digital underworld, a flicker of hope ignited in Orpheus's despair. Amidst the countless posts of lament and technical jargon, a cryptic username caught his eye: Data Recovery Shaman. The profile was Spartan, devoid of personal details, a digital enigma shrouded in an aura of ancient wisdom and technological prowess. The shaman's posts were unlike any Orpheus had encountered before. They weren't simple technical solutions or empty words of comfort. They were enigmatic pronouncements, a blend of obscure coding references, snippets of forgotten myths, and surprisingly effective troubleshooting advice. One post described a client's lost wedding photos, seemingly irretrievably corrupted by a rogue algorithm. The shaman's response wasn't a simple "try this software." Instead, it was a cryptic riddle. The serpent eats its tail, the data is reborn. Seek the cyclical pattern, the echo of creation. Attached was a seemingly random string of hexadecimal code. Initially baffling, the code, when deciphered by a user with some programming expertise and a healthy dose of online sleuthing, revealed a hidden recovery function within the corrupted files, miraculously restoring the photos. Another post showcased the shaman's unique approach to a seemingly hopeless case. A musician had lost a decade's worth of original compositions, a digital graveyard of unsaved masterpieces. The shaman, instead of resorting to conventional data recovery methods, suggested a digital libation, a process that involved meticulously analyzing the remnants of the lost files for recurring patterns and musical motifs. He directed the musician to rebuild the lost works, almost like channeling the lost music through a sort of algorithmic divination. The result? A collection of reconstructed pieces, undeniably influenced by the original compositions, but imbued with a haunting, almost ethereal quality, a testament to the shaman's ability to bridge the digital and spiritual realms. Intrigued and desperate, Orpheus contacted the data recovery shaman through a private message. His message was simple: Eurydice, lost. Can you help? The reply arrived hours later, a single sentence that sent a shiver down Orpheus's spine. The echo of her song remains. Find the harmony in the dissonance. Attached was a link to a seemingly innocuous online image, a pixelated representation of the iconic Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail, a symbol of cyclical renewal, perfectly mirroring the shaman's previous post. Orpheus clicked the link, the image expanding into a hidden forum, a digital back alley tucked away deep within the sprawling digital underworld. It was a place where the language of the internet mixed with the whispers of ancient mythology, where technical expertise danced with esoteric knowledge. This wasn't a typical support forum. The atmosphere was charged with a palpable sense of mystery and intrigue, a hidden community of digital shamans, code-slinging sorcerers, and data recovery wizards who dealt in the recovery of lost souls, or at least the digital echoes of them. Within the forum, threads chronicled the shaman's seemingly impossible feats, resurrecting lost family videos by interpreting the spectral patterns of corrupted data clusters, reconstructing damaged digital paintings using algorithms inspired by ancient alchemical processes, retrieving fragmented memories from the digital ether using methods reminiscent of shamanistic spirit journeying. Each success story was a testament to the shaman's unique blend of technological acumen and mythical intuition. One particularly striking thread detailed a case involving a lost screenplay. The user, a frustrated screenwriter, had lost his entire manuscript during a catastrophic hard drive failure. The shaman, rather than attempting to recover the raw data, guided the user through a series of exercises focused on reimagining the screenplay, using the fragmentary memories as starting points for creative reconstruction. The final result, though not a perfect replica of the original, was a surprisingly compelling and original work, demonstrating the power of creative recovery. The forum was also filled with discussions about digital preservation, echoing Orpheus's own newfound concerns. Members shared their experiences, offering tips and techniques, all framed within the unique lens of the data recovery shaman's philosophy. They spoke of the importance of backing up not just files but memories, of preserving not just digital data but the emotional resonance embedded within them. They discussed the ethics of digital resurrection, debating the boundaries between restoring lost information and creating artificial replacements. Orpheus began to feel a glimmer of hope, a sense of camaraderie that wasn't just born from shared grief, but from a shared pursuit of knowledge, a common quest for digital salvation. It was a hidden community bound not by shared loss, but a shared goal: to navigate the digital underworld and reclaim the ghosts of the past. It was a thrilling realization. He participated in the forums, sharing his story with cautious anonymity. He spoke of Eurydice, not mentioning her name directly, but alluding to the irretrievable loss of a beloved digital entity. He carefully concealed her true identity. The members of the forum, experienced in the art of digital recovery and the complexities of grief, understood the undercurrent of his message. The shaman's cryptic messages, once enigmatic riddles, started to reveal a method. The shaman, it turned out, wasn't simply a skilled data recovery expert. They possessed an almost mystical understanding of the digital landscape. Their methods blended advanced coding techniques with an intuitive grasp of the emotional resonance embedded within digital data. They spoke of algorithms as spells, of data structures as constellations, of error messages as cryptic prophecies. They understood that retrieving data wasn't merely a technical process, but a deeply spiritual undertaking, an act of reclaiming lost souls from the digital purgatory. Orpheus found himself caught up in the shaman's cryptic pronouncements. He studied ancient myths, delving into the symbolism of the Ouroboros, the phoenix rising from the ashes, the endless cycle of death and rebirth. He learned to see the patterns, the echoes, the harmonies within the seemingly chaotic world of corrupted data. He saw parallels between the mythological narratives and the technical challenges of data recovery, finding a strange sort of poetry in the juxtaposition of ancient wisdom and modern technology. He started to understand the shaman's methods weren't about simple technical fixes. They were about finding a profound connection between technology and the human experience, about using technology to overcome grief and reclaim what is seemingly lost. It was a revolutionary way to approach data recovery, a bridge between the ancient and the digital, the ethereal and the tangible. He realized that the quest to retrieve Eurydice wasn't just a technical problem to be solved. It was a spiritual journey, a pilgrimage into the depths of the digital underworld, guided by the cryptic wisdom of the data recovery shaman. This journey had just begun, and the challenges that lay ahead were as immense and daunting as the underworld itself. Yet Orpheus felt, for the first time since Eurydice's passing, a flicker of hope, a sense of purpose that transcended his personal loss, connecting him to a wider community of digital mourners and, perhaps, to a possible path toward reunion. The shaman's message had sparked a fire in him, not only the technical prowess needed, but the spiritual strength to approach his task, a quest that mixed the highest of technology with the most ancient of wisdom. The data recovery shaman's cryptic message, the echo of her song remains. Find the harmony in the dissonance, resonated deeply within Orpheus. It wasn't a technical instruction. It was a philosophical imperative, a challenge to his very understanding of loss and recovery. He realized, with a sudden clarity that pierced the fog of his grief, that the shaman wasn't offering a direct route back to Eurydice's digital ghost. Instead, the path to reunion was one of acceptance, of finding peace within the discordant symphony of his sorrow. He spent days poring over the forum, absorbing the wisdom of the digital shamans. He learned about the concept of digital acceptance, a process of acknowledging the irretrievable loss of data while simultaneously honoring its significance. The forum members spoke of creating digital memorials, crafting digital artifacts from the fragments of lost data, using these shards as a raw material for new creative projects. They spoke of the importance of letting go, of recognizing that while the physical data may be lost, the emotional resonance, the memories, the experiences, these could not be erased. One poignant post described a user's experience with a lost video of their child's first steps. The video was irretrievably corrupted, a digital tomb filled with only fragments of corrupted code and data. Instead of obsessing over recovery, the user had embarked on a project of artistic reconstruction, recreating the scene from memory and family photos, adding music that evoked the feelings of the original video. The result, a testament to the enduring power of memory, wasn't a perfect replica but a poignant and powerful tribute, a testament to the memories that outlived the digital data. It was more than mere data recovery, it was a recovery of the spirit. Orpheus began to understand. The shaman's advice wasn't a technical fix, but a profound philosophical shift. He realized that his relentless pursuit of Eurydice's digital form was a manifestation of his refusal to accept her loss. He had been clinging to the illusion of recovery, trapped in a cycle of frustration and despair, desperately trying to rewind time to undo the digital accident. But the shaman was urging him towards a different path, a path of reconciliation, of finding harmony within the dissonance of his grief. His apartment, once a battlefield strewn with tangled cables and flickering screens, began to undergo a subtle transformation. The chaotic energy of his desperate attempts to resurrect Eurydice slowly gave way to a more serene atmosphere. The scattered wires were neatly coiled, the overflowing coffee cups replaced with steaming mugs of calming herbal tea. His laptop, once a tool of frantic data retrieval, now lay dormant, its screen reflecting the subdued light of the setting sun. He began to revisit Eurydice's digital life, not in a desperate attempt to reclaim her, but to commemorate her presence. He revisited their shared online spaces, the digital record of their shared laughter, their inside jokes, their love. He scrolled through their shared playlists, savoring the echoes of their shared musical passion. He rediscovered the digital traces of their shared life, finding solace not in the possibility of reunion, but in the recognition of a past that couldn't be erased, even if its digital form had been lost. He even revisited the online forums, posting less about his desperate search and more about his slow, painful journey toward acceptance. He shared his experience with the digital shamans, openly expressing his grief and his gradual shift towards acceptance. He found comfort in the shared experiences of others, the digital echoes of their own losses and their own journeys towards healing. The forum members responded with empathy and encouragement, offering words of support and sharing their own strategies for coping with digital loss. Some suggested creating digital shrines, others suggested transforming lost data into art. Some spoke of the importance of ritual, creating digital memorials to celebrate the lives of the lost, performing digital rites of passage to acknowledge the finality of death. Orpheus began to see data loss not as a tragedy but as an opportunity, a chance to redefine his relationship with Eurydice's memory. He saw her digital presence not as a replacement for her real self, but as a reflection of their shared past. He recognized that the data represented a snapshot of their relationship, a testament to their love, but it was not the totality of what they had shared. He started to create a digital album, a tribute to their life together. It wasn't a perfect restoration, but a careful assemblage of fragments, of scattered memories, of faded photographs and shared audio files, pieced together to create a mosaic of their past. Each file, each image became a small piece of a larger narrative, a testament to a love that transcended the limitations of the digital realm. He even began to compose music, inspired by the fragments of Eurydice's digital song, the echoes of her voice he had found within the corrupted data. He used these fragments not as an attempt to resurrect her voice perfectly, but as a source of inspiration, a starting point for a new creative endeavor. The music, though tinged with melancholy, was not a lament but a tribute, a testament to her enduring presence in his life. The journey was far from easy. There were moments of relapse, moments of intense grief and despair, but with each passing day, the grip of his obsession loosened, replaced by a more profound understanding of loss and acceptance. The shaman's cryptic message, once a source of frustration, now served as a guiding light, leading him down a path of healing and reconciliation. He was no longer trapped in the digital underworld, desperately searching for a digital ghost. Instead, he was walking towards the light, carrying the weight of his loss with grace and dignity, crafting a narrative of grief and acceptance that transcended the boundaries of the digital and the real. The digital echoes of Eurydice remained, not as a replacement, but as a cherished reminder of the love they shared, guiding him toward a future where the pain of loss wasn't replaced, but accompanied by the enduring power of memory and the art of moving on. The new quest wasn't to bring her back, but to accept her absence, to honor her memory in ways that transcended the limitations of mere data recovery. And in doing so, he was finally beginning to heal. Chapter 3: The Algorithm of Acceptance. The silence was deafening. After weeks of battling buffering screens and corrupted files, Orpheus unplugged everything. His apartment, once a chaotic tangle of wires and glowing screens, was now eerily quiet. The hum of servers, the incessant notifications, the constant flicker of the screen, all gone. He felt a strange mixture of liberation and unease. It was as if he'd stepped out of a hyper-real simulation and into a muted, almost forgotten world. The world of physical sensations. He started with the simplest things. The weight of his coffee cup in his hand, the warmth of the sun on his skin, the scent of rain on the pavement outside his window. These previously unnoticed details now held a profound significance. They were tangible, irrefutable anchors in a reality that had for too long been mediated through the filter of a screen. His initial attempt at a walk had been disorienting. Without the GPS guiding his steps, without the constant stream of information from his phone, he felt lost, adrift in a sea of unfamiliar streets. He found himself noticing things he'd never noticed before. The intricate patterns of the cobblestones, the subtle nuances of the architecture, the faces of strangers passing him by. It was a sensory overload, a stark contrast to the sterile, predictable world of his digital existence. He sought refuge in nature, finding solace in a nearby park. The vibrant green of the grass, the rustling of leaves, the chirping of birds. These were sounds and sights that had been absent from his life, replaced by the synthetic soundscapes of his digital world. He sat beneath a sprawling oak tree, letting the sun warm his skin, feeling the gentle breeze caress his face. He closed his eyes, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he felt a profound sense of peace. His digital detox wasn't just a physical act, it was a spiritual pilgrimage. He began to revisit the places that held significance in his relationship with Eurydice. He visited the cafe where they first met, the museum where they shared their love of art, the concert hall where they heard their favorite orchestra. These places, imbued with shared memories, now held a deeper resonance unfiltered by the lens of digital nostalgia. He found himself journaling, a practice he'd abandoned in favor of instant digital updates and fleeting social media posts. The act of writing by hand felt strangely intimate, almost ritualistic. He poured his thoughts and emotions onto paper, expressing his grief, his regret, his acceptance. The words flowed freely, unburdened by the constraints of digital communication. One evening, he found himself at a local jazz club. The live music, the energy of the crowd, the smell of stale beer and cigarette smoke. It was a sensory experience that had been replaced by the sterile perfection of digitally mastered sounds. He felt a connection to the musicians, to the audience, a shared human experience that transcended the virtual world. The music resonated with his emotional state, amplifying his grief but also offering a path to catharsis. He felt a surge of inspiration, a spark of creativity that had been dormant within him for so long. The digital detox wasn't easy. There were moments of intense cravings, moments when he felt the urge to check his emails, to scroll through social media, to reconnect with the familiar comfort of his digital life. But he resisted, recognizing these urges as symptoms of his addiction, manifestations of his avoidance of confronting his grief. He started cooking again, a skill he'd neglected in his digital obsession. The simple act of chopping vegetables, of measuring ingredients, of creating something tangible with his own hands. It was a grounding experience, a reminder of the physical reality of his life. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled his apartment, a stark contrast to the sterile scent of electronics that had previously dominated his space. He rediscovered the joy of reading physical books, the weight of the pages in his hands, the smell of the ink, the tactile experience of turning the pages. He immersed himself in literature, finding solace and inspiration in the stories of others. He learned about the coping mechanisms of different cultures, the various ways humans have dealt with loss throughout history. The digital world, with its instant gratification and fleeting connections, had offered no such depth. He sought out human connection, engaging in meaningful conversations with friends and family. He spent time with people who mattered, sharing his experiences and receiving their support and empathy. The authentic human connection provided a profound sense of belonging, a stark contrast to the superficial relationships he'd cultivated in the digital realm. The absence of technology allowed him to focus on his inner world, to confront his emotions, to heal his wounds. The digital detox wasn't a rejection of technology, but a reclaiming of his humanity. He was no longer defined by his digital footprint, but by his experiences, his relationships, his creative expression. He had not brought Eurydice back from the digital underworld, but he had found his own way out. He had found peace, not in the pursuit of a digital ghost, but in the embracing of his present reality. The digital echoes of Eurydice remained, but now they were integrated into the rich tapestry of his life, a reminder of a love that transcended the limitations of the digital world, a love that continued to shape his life, even in her absence. He was finally free, free to grieve, free to heal, free to live. The digital detox had not erased his sorrow, but it had allowed him to find a healthier, more fulfilling way to carry it. The harmony within the dissonance wasn't a perfect chord, but it was a melody worth composing. The silence of his apartment, once a cacophony of digital noise, now echoed with the quiet hum of possibility. He had unplugged, not just from the internet, but from the relentless cycle of seeking solace in digital distractions. He'd found a different kind of peace, a quietude born not of emptiness, but of a profound reconnection with the tangible world, with himself. But something was missing. The silence, while peaceful, also felt hollow. The absence of Eurydice, of the shared joy of creating music together, was still a gaping wound. His guitar, gathering dust in the corner, felt like a tombstone to their collaborative spirit. One rainy afternoon, while idly browsing through a second-hand bookstore, a decidedly analog experience, a worn copy of a Bach cello suite caught his eye. He hadn't touched his cello since everything had gone wrong. The memory struck him with the force of a physical blow, a sharp pang of grief that threatened to overwhelm him. But this time, it didn't. He held the book, its weight a comforting presence in his hands, and the thought occurred to him, maybe it was time to play again. Not to bring Eurydice back, not to conjure her from the digital ether, but to play for himself, to find a new melody born from the ashes of his sorrow. He carried the book home, a small act of defiance against the digital void he had left behind. He dusted off his cello, the polished wood gleaming faintly in the afternoon light. The instrument, which for so long had been a symbol of shared creation, now stood as a silent witness to his solitary journey through grief. His fingers, clumsy and hesitant at first, found their way onto the strings. The first notes were hesitant, tentative. A fragile melody emerged from the depths of his soul, a lament for what had been lost, a song of sorrow tempered by a dawning sense of hope. He didn't play for an audience, he didn't play for Eurydice, he played for himself, allowing the music to be the conduit for his grief, his longing, his acceptance. The cafe where he and Eurydice had first met became his impromptu concert hall. The aroma of coffee, the murmur of conversations, the rhythmic clinking of cups, these sounds became a comforting backdrop to his music. He played melancholic melodies, each note a tear, each chord a sigh. Yet within the sorrow, there was a strength, a resilience that surprised even him. He was not merely reliving his grief, he was transmuting it, transforming it into something beautiful, something new. He found inspiration in the most unexpected places. A street performer's soulful rendition of an old blues song in a bustling city square gave him a new chord progression. The rhythmic crash of waves against the rocks on a desolate beach sparked a melody filled with both longing and peace. The vibrant chaos of a bustling farmer's market inspired a lively jig, a surprising burst of energy that caught him off guard. He was drawing inspiration from life itself, from the rich tapestry of human experience rather than the sterile echo chamber of the digital world. He began to compose again, filling notebooks with musical notations, each page a testament to his healing process. The process itself was therapeutic, a form of self-expression that allowed him to articulate emotions he had been unable to vocalize. It wasn't a digital symphony, meticulously crafted and flawlessly executed. It was raw, visceral, honest, a reflection of his journey through grief, a testament to his resilience. His music gradually evolved. The initial lamentations gave way to more complex, nuanced pieces that explored a wider range of emotions. There were moments of intense sorrow, but also moments of quiet contemplation, moments of unexpected joy, moments of profound acceptance. His music became a reflection of his internal landscape, a chronicle of his emotional transformation. One evening, he found himself playing in a small, intimate concert hall. The audience was small, but their attentiveness was profound. He played his heart out, pouring his emotions into each note, each chord, each phrase. When he finished, the silence was broken not by applause, but by a profound sense of shared understanding. The audience understood his music not as a mere performance, but as a story, a deeply personal journey of loss, healing, and acceptance. The music wasn't perfect. It was sometimes jarring, sometimes discordant, but within the dissonance, there was a profound sense of harmony, a testament to the complexity of the human experience. It wasn't a flawless digital recording, but a live performance, full of emotion, full of life, full of the raw beauty of human imperfection. He was no longer trying to control every aspect of his performance, seeking the artificial perfection of a digitally mastered sound. He was embracing the imperfection, the vulnerability, the very essence of being human. After the concert, a woman approached him, tears in her eyes. "Your music," she whispered. "It saved me." Her words resonated deeply, not just as praise, but as a validation of his journey. He hadn't brought Eurydice back from the digital underworld, but he had found something far more valuable. He had found his voice, his own unique melody, a testament to his resilience, his creativity, and his unwavering spirit. He had channeled his grief into art, transforming his pain into a source of strength and inspiration for others. His story wasn't the triumphant return of a hero. It was the quiet, understated triumph of a human being grappling with loss, finding solace in creativity and emerging from the darkness with a newfound appreciation for life, for music, for the inherent beauty of human imperfection. He had found his peace not by bringing Eurydice back, but by accepting her absence, by allowing his grief to transform him, and by sharing his story through the language he knew best, music. The algorithm of acceptance wasn't a neat, easily defined process. It was messy, chaotic, and profoundly human. But in its messiness, in its imperfection, it held a beauty that transcended the sterile perfection of the digital world. He had found the beauty in the imperfection, a melody born from sorrow but resonant with life. And in that resonance, he found his way forward, his way home, not to Eurydice, but to himself. The ghost of Eurydice's digital profile still lingered. It wasn't a malicious haunting, more like a persistent notification that refused to disappear, a digital phantom clinging to the edges of his consciousness. He'd deleted the photos, the messages, the shared playlists, a digital exorcism of sorts. But the echo of her presence remained, a subtle shimmer in the periphery of his memory. He would catch glimpses of her in the reflection of his computer screen, a fleeting image of her laughing, her eyes sparkling with mischief, a digital ghost in the machine. Sometimes, late at night, he'd find himself instinctively reaching for his phone, his fingers tracing the ghost of her contact information, a muscle memory of connection now leading to nothing but the cold emptiness of a deleted profile. This wasn't a conscious effort to revisit his grief, it was more a subconscious twitch, a phantom limb syndrome of the digital age. His mind, it seemed, was still grappling with the loss, clinging to the vestiges of her digital existence, like a shipwrecked sailor clinging to a piece of driftwood in a vast, unforgiving ocean. He found himself subconsciously searching for her in online forums, in shared spaces, in the digital detritus of their past. It was a futile search, a quest for a ghost in the machine, a digital Persephone forever lost in the server farms of Hades. He'd read somewhere that grief is like a wave. It crashes over you, pulls you under, and then eventually retreats, leaving you breathless and exhausted but on the shore. His grief felt less like a wave and more like a tide, an unrelenting ebb and flow, sometimes receding only to return with renewed intensity, its relentless rhythm a constant companion. The digital remnants of Eurydice were like sea glass, smoothed and worn by the relentless tide of his memories, beautiful and heartbreaking, each shard a reminder of what he had lost. He started keeping a journal, not a digital one, but an old-fashioned leather-bound notebook, a tangible counterpoint to the ephemeral nature of the digital world. In its pages, he documented not just his musical journey, but also the ebb and flow of his grief, his attempts to reconcile the digital ghost of Eurydice with the tangible reality of her absence. He wrote about the absurdity of it all, the idea that his love story had been reduced to a series of ones and zeros, a collection of digital files that had been corrupted and lost forever in the server of the dead. He wrote about the frustration of buffering screens, the agony of lagging downloads, the agonizing wait for a data transfer that never completed. He documented the irony of a world that promised immortality but could not even preserve the memory of a love story, a digital love story that was now corrupted, lost forever in the endless expanse of the internet. He found solace in the physicality of the process, the feel of the pen against the paper, the texture of the leather, the weight of the notebook in his hands. It was a grounding force in a world that seemed increasingly ephemeral and intangible. The digital world, with its promises of instant connection and eternal memory, had betrayed him, leaving him with only fragments of a digital past and the agonizing knowledge of irretrievable loss. In the tangible world, however, in the weight of the pen and paper, he was reconstructing his narrative. He was rewriting the story, not erasing the past, but adding new chapters. One entry detailed a particularly vivid dream. He was back in the Underworld's server room, but this time, instead of the cold, sterile environment of before, it was overgrown with digital vines, a chaotic garden of lost data, where files sprouted like strange, unearthly flowers. Eurydice's digital profile wasn't lost or corrupted. It was hidden amongst the overgrown data, obscured by the tangled mess of corrupted files and lost memories. He found her, but she was different. Her digital self imbued with a strange, otherworldly beauty. She looked at him and smiled, but her voice was the low hum of a server, the static crackle of corrupted data. He woke up in a cold sweat, the dream's residue clinging to him like a digital shroud. It was a powerful reminder that his memory of Eurydice, even the digital fragments, remained a deeply personal interpretation, filtered through the lens of his own grief and longing. He wasn't just mourning her absence, he was mourning the loss of a shared digital existence, a virtual world they had created together, a world that was now lost forever. It was a haunting, a digital ghost story that lived not just in the servers of Hades, but in the recesses of his own mind. He started attending grief support groups, a step he initially resisted. He had always been a solitary figure, more comfortable in his own company, lost in the world of music. But the shared experience of loss, the palpable sense of community, was surprisingly comforting. It was in these groups that he realized he wasn't alone in his struggle, that others had also experienced the pain of digital loss, the frustration of lost data, the anguish of incomplete downloads. Their stories, their experiences resonated deeply, forging an unexpected bond among strangers united by shared sorrow. Through these encounters, he began to understand that the algorithm of acceptance wasn't a linear progression. It was a chaotic, unpredictable journey, full of setbacks and unexpected detours. His digital grief had a rhythm of its own, its ebbs and flows dictated not by logic, but by the erratic heart of memory. The shadow of the server, the ghost of Eurydice's digital profile, continued to haunt his thoughts. But now it was just a shadow, a faint echo, a reminder of the past, not a force that could define his present or shape his future. He continued to play his music, each note a testament to his healing process. The music was evolving, becoming more complex, more nuanced, reflecting the depth and complexity of his emotional journey. He was not just mourning Eurydice, he was embracing his life, finding a new melody in the dissonance of his loss, a beautiful counterpoint to the silent hum of the server. The digital world had failed him, but in its failure, he had found something far more profound, a deeper understanding of himself, his resilience, his capacity for love and loss. He began to see the beauty in the imperfection, the power in the vulnerability, the resilience in the acceptance. The shadow of the server remained, a persistent hum in the background, a constant reminder of his loss. But it no longer held the power to define him or to dictate the rhythm of his life. He had found his own rhythm, his own melody, a symphony of resilience, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to endure, to heal, to find beauty even in the face of loss, even in the shadow of the server. He had learned to live with the ghost of his digital past, not by erasing it, but by embracing it, by weaving it into the rich tapestry of his present, by transforming his sorrow into art, into music, into life itself. The algorithm of acceptance wasn't a digital formula, but a deeply human process, messy, imperfect, and profoundly beautiful. And in that imperfection he found his peace. The echo of the server room was fading, replaced by the richer, fuller sound of his life, his music, his healing. The algorithm of acceptance, he discovered, was not about forgetting, but about remembering differently. It was not about erasing the past, but about weaving it into the fabric of a life rebuilt on the foundations of loss and acceptance. The flickering cursor on his blank screen mocked him. He'd tried everything, deleting accounts, clearing caches, even performing a full system restore, a digital equivalent of scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush. Yet the ghost of Eurydice remained. Not in a literal sense, of course. He wasn't seeing her digital image pop up in his spreadsheets, or hearing her voice in his notifications. It was more insidious, a subtle feeling of absence, a hollow space where her vibrant digital presence used to be. It was the silence after a deleted message, the empty space where a shared photo album once resided, the lack of a ping in a group chat that felt perpetually unfinished. He found himself drawn back to their old haunts, the online spaces they'd shared. He revisited their collaborative playlist, a bittersweet symphony of their past, each song a memory, each note a pang of longing. The comments section, once a vibrant forum for their playful banter, now felt like a graveyard of laughter, a silent testament to their joy. He scrolled through their shared online photos, her digital smile a heartbreaking reminder of her physical absence, her digital image a phantom limb aching for his touch. It wasn't a simple case of mourning a person. He was mourning a shared digital life, a carefully crafted digital world that had suddenly vanished. He had lost the virtual spaces they created together, their digital whispers, their shared jokes embedded in the comments of old articles, their digital love letters, all of which were now fragments of a shattered past. Each space represented a specific stage of their relationship, from the early days of shy exchanges on social media to the comfortable intimacy of shared online journals and collaborative playlists. One evening, he found himself wandering through their old online gaming world, a virtual landscape they'd painstakingly built together. He remembered their digital adventures, their shared triumphs, their playful skirmishes. The ghosts of their digital avatars moved through the landscape, remnants of a life that was no longer. It was a bittersweet experience, a poignant reminder of what he had lost, a digital graveyard of memories. Yet there was a strange comfort in revisiting those spaces, a sense of connection to her that felt surprisingly tangible. He'd envisioned the underworld as a vast, shadowy server farm, but the reality was far more mundane, or perhaps even more horrifying. It wasn't a realm of fire and brimstone, but an endless expanse of beige servers, blinking lights, and the incessant hum of cooling fans, a symphony of technological tedium that somehow perfectly mirrored the monotony of grief. He had expected to confront Hades, a towering figure of wrath and judgment, but instead, he faced a barrage of error messages, buffering screens, and impossibly slow download speeds. He'd tried various strategies to access Eurydice's data, employing every technical trick he could think of. Hacking, ethically of course, using proxy servers, even attempting to bribe some overworked IT gods with digital offerings of his latest album. He even tried appealing to Hades through a meticulously crafted digital petition, supported by 1,000,000 signatures gathered by an army of sympathetic bots, but it all proved fruitless. The Underworld's digital infrastructure, it turned out, was far more resilient than he'd initially thought. It was a maze of firewalls and encryption protocols, an impenetrable fortress designed to keep the dead and their data firmly in place. The digital underworld wasn't a realm of supernatural horror, but a painfully familiar landscape of technical frustrations. He battled lagging downloads, cryptic error messages, and the relentless buffering wheel, that digital symbol of purgatory. It was a frustratingly modern interpretation of his mythological journey, trading Charon's ferry for an agonizingly slow internet connection, Cerberus's guard for a particularly stubborn firewall. He realized that technology, despite its promises of immortality and connection, offered no protection against the cruel hand of fate. It couldn't prevent death, nor could it resurrect the lost. The digital world, in its relentless quest for efficiency and optimization, offered little solace in the face of loss. He'd poured his heart and soul into building a digital relationship, a carefully crafted online intimacy that seemed to mirror his real-world connection, and that had all been wiped away, reduced to nothing but corrupted files and error messages, a digital testament to his failed attempts at digital immortality. This realization was a turning point. He stepped away from his computer and walked outside. The digital world, with its promises and failures, could not define him. He was more than the sum of his digital interactions. He was a musician, a lover, a person who had experienced profound loss, but also possessed the strength to confront his grief and move forward. He started composing again, not to resurrect Eurydice digitally, but to honor her memory, to find a way to express his pain and his acceptance. His music became a conduit for his grief, the notes weaving a tapestry of emotions, sorrow, anger, acceptance, and a quiet, lingering love. Each piece was a digital counterpoint to his digital loss, a testament to the human capacity for resilience. The digital underworld remained, a constant reminder of his loss. But now he viewed it not as an insurmountable obstacle, but as a testament to the limitations of technology. It was a reminder of the ephemeral nature of digital life and the importance of cherishing human connections. He found a new rhythm in his life, a melody of resilience woven from the threads of his pain, acceptance, and an enduring love. The algorithm of acceptance wasn't a program or a code, but a profoundly human process. As messy and unpredictable as life itself, it was a journey of adapting, of acknowledging the loss, and of ultimately finding peace in the face of the unimaginable. The digital shadow of his past remained, a ghost in the machine, but it no longer controlled him. He had found his own melody. He had found his own peace. And in that peace, he found a new rhythm to his life, a new song to sing. The silence in his small, cluttered studio was a stark contrast to the relentless hum of the server farm he'd left behind. Dust motes danced in the weak sunlight filtering through the grimy window, illuminating the worn wooden floorboards and the collection of battered instruments that littered the space. His fingers, calloused and stained with ink from countless scores, trembled slightly as he reached for his lyre. It felt heavier than usual, a tangible weight mirroring the emotional burden he carried. The digital underworld, with its relentless buffering and cryptic error messages, had faded into the background, replaced by the more immediate, more tangible reality of his grief. He hadn't touched the lyre since the download failure, since the final, agonizing click of the mouse that had severed his connection to Eurydice, not just in the digital realm, but in the aching void that now existed in his heart. He'd spent weeks lost in a haze of technical frustration, blaming himself, blaming the system, blaming the cruel irony of a technology that promised immortality, yet delivered only heartbreak. But now, a different kind of energy pulsed within him, a quiet resolve that transcended the limitations of code and algorithms. He began to play, tentatively at first, his fingers hesitant on the strings. The notes were hesitant, unsure, mirroring the uncertain path he was forging through his grief. It wasn't a triumphant fanfare. It was a lament, a whispered confession of pain and loss. The melody was fragmented, mirroring the shattered pieces of his digital world, the broken links, the corrupted files, the ghosts of conversations and shared experiences that now existed only as echoes in the vast digital wasteland. As he played, the music began to take shape, evolving from a simple lament into a complex tapestry of emotions. The initial sorrow gave way to anger, a raw, visceral frustration at the futility of his efforts, the cruel mockery of a system that promised connection but ultimately delivered isolation. The notes grew sharper, more insistent, a furious outburst against fate, against the relentless march of time, against the seemingly insurmountable barrier that separated him from his lost love. But within the anger, a subtle shift occurred. A glimmer of acceptance began to penetrate the darkness, a quiet acknowledgement of the permanence of his loss. The music softened, the notes flowing more smoothly, the rhythm becoming steadier. It was no longer a frantic scream of despair, but a measured exploration of grief, a journey through the different stages of loss, from denial to acceptance. He closed his eyes, surrendering to the flow of the melody. The music became his confidant, his solace, his way of processing the overwhelming emotions that had consumed him for weeks. The lyre was more than just an instrument. It was an extension of his soul, his conduit for expression. It allowed him to transform his raw, chaotic emotions into something beautiful, something meaningful. The melody evolved, incorporating elements of his previous compositions, weaving fragments of their shared digital life into the new piece. It wasn't a resurrection of Eurydice, not in the digital sense, but a commemoration, a tribute to their shared journey. He drew inspiration from the shared playlists they had created, from the inside jokes embedded in their digital exchanges, from the virtual world they had painstakingly built together. These weren't just digital artifacts. They were the building blocks of a relationship, tangible memories transformed into musical notes. Each chord evoked a specific moment, a shared experience, a whispered conversation, a moment of laughter that had somehow managed to transcend the digital divide and resonate in the heart of his sorrow. He remembered the first time they'd met online, the shy exchanges in the comments section of a shared article, the hesitant messages that gradually blossomed into a deeper connection. These moments were translated into the delicate arpeggios that opened the piece, a tender reflection on the fragility of new beginnings. Later, the more powerful passages mirrored their passionate exchanges, their shared dreams, their digital world brimming with love and laughter. These more complex passages showed the development of their shared digital life, moving from simple connection to a deep and cherished relationship. The crescendo came as he recalled the shattering moment of her loss, the finality of the error message, the abrupt silence that had followed. The music swelled, reflecting the overwhelming despair he'd felt, the crushing weight of his grief. Yet, even within the anguish, there was a hint of resilience, a quiet determination to overcome his pain. This resilient and determined tone began to appear in the notes he produced, showing the listener the strength of Orpheus and his resolve to carry on. But the piece wasn't just a chronicle of his loss. It was a testament to his strength, a celebration of his resilience. As the music reached its climax, it shifted from sorrow to acceptance, from despair to hope. The final notes were quiet, peaceful, a serene acceptance of the ephemeral nature of life, both digital and real. It was an ode to memory, a tribute to a love that had transcended the limitations of technology. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was filled with a profound sense of peace. He sat for a long time after the last note faded, his hands still resting on the lyre. The music had served its purpose. It had helped him to process his grief, to find a way to express his loss, to integrate it into his life. The digital underworld, with its endless expanse of servers and cryptic error messages, remained in the background, but its power had diminished. He had found a new kind of connection, a new kind of immortality, not through the illusion of digital permanence, but through the power of human expression, through the enduring legacy of his music. He titled the piece Eurydice's Echo, a fitting tribute to the woman he loved, a testament to their shared journey, both digital and real. It was a song of loss, yes, but it was also a song of acceptance, a song of resilience, a song of enduring love. He knew that the pain wouldn't disappear entirely, that the memory of his digital loss would always be a part of him, a subtle undercurrent to his life, a faint echo in the vast digital expanse. But he had found a way to live with it, to integrate it into his existence, to transform his grief into something beautiful, something enduring, something lasting. He had found a new song, a new rhythm to his life, and that was more than he'd ever hoped for. He had found peace in the face of loss, a peace that transcended the limitations of algorithms and code. He had found his own acceptance, and in doing so, he had finally truly let go. Chapter 4: A Symphony of Loss and Renewal. He uploaded Eurydice's Echo. The act felt strangely liberating, like releasing a flock of digital doves into the vast expanse of the internet. He'd hesitated, initially, clinging to the privacy of his grief, the intimate solace of his own sorrow. But the memory of Eurydice and the shared moments they had crafted in their digital world felt too precious to keep locked away. He needed to share her in a way to keep her memory alive, not just in his heart, but in the digital tapestry of the world. The internet, that vast and often chaotic realm he'd once cursed, now seemed like a potential haven, a place where perhaps, just perhaps, he wasn't alone in his experience. He posted it on a few smaller music forums, places dedicated to instrumental music, to the melancholic beauty of the lyre, and to the cathartic power of music itself. He braced himself for silence, for the usual indifference of the online world, but the response was immediate and overwhelmingly supportive. People wrote to him, sharing their own stories of digital loss. Lost photos, corrupted files, deleted accounts. These were the digital tombstones of their memories, echoes of relationships lost to crashes, glitches, and the relentless march of technological obsolescence. There were tales of lost loved ones whose only remaining presence was a string of digital messages, their final words hanging in the ethereal space of a chat log. Some mourned the loss of entire digital worlds, virtual pets that had vanished with a server shutdown, meticulously built online empires reduced to nothing but a 404 error. It was a chorus of shared grief, a symphony of sorrow echoing across the digital landscape. One message stood out. A woman named Ilara wrote about the loss of her grandmother, whose entire life's work, meticulously documented over decades, had been wiped out in a hard drive failure. She had lost not just her grandmother, but the record of her life, her memories, her legacy. The digital echoes of her grandmother's presence were all but gone. Ilara found solace in Orpheus's music. It gave voice to the pain that had been trapped in the silent corridors of her heart. She wrote, "Your music, it's like you've opened a portal to the place where our lost memories linger. Thank you for letting me feel less alone." Another user, a young man identifying himself as Zephyr, confessed to losing his entire college thesis just days before its deadline, a devastating setback that brought him to the brink of despair. The sheer weight of loss, he wrote, seemed impossible to carry. He found a kinship with Orpheus's tale of heartbreak and loss. He wrote, "I never thought I'd find comfort in a song about losing a wife to a server crash, but your music truly captures the depth of digital heartbreak. It validates my own feelings." Orpheus responded to each message, offering words of support and understanding. He shared his own journey of healing, emphasizing the importance of acknowledging grief, of finding healthy ways to express the pain and to gradually emerge from it. He discovered a strange solace in his newfound role as a digital confidant, in the shared experience of grief that transcended the boundaries of time, distance, and personal circumstance. The comments on his video continued to pour in, a testament to the universality of loss and the power of shared experience. People from all walks of life, all corners of the globe, shared their stories of digital loss, of accidental deletions, of corrupted files, of systems crashes that took with them cherished memories and irreplaceable digital artifacts. Each story was unique, each pain intensely personal, yet each shared a common thread: the feeling of helplessness, the crushing weight of loss, the sense of something irretrievably gone. The comment section became a vibrant online community, a digital space where people could grieve, share, support, and ultimately heal. It was a testament to the power of human connection, a reminder that even in the cold, impersonal world of the internet, genuine empathy and understanding could flourish. The digital space became a place of solace, of comfort, and of collective healing. The online community, initially formed by a shared experience of digital loss, gradually expanded to embrace broader themes of grief and resilience. People shared stories of loss that extended beyond the digital realm: the loss of loved ones, the loss of dreams, the loss of innocence. The shared experience of digital grief had served as a catalyst, fostering a deeper understanding of human vulnerability and the strength required to navigate the challenges of life. Orpheus found himself becoming a kind of digital grief counselor, offering words of encouragement and support to those who reached out. He learned as much from them as they learned from him. He discovered the profound healing power of shared experience, the comfort of knowing that he wasn't alone in his struggle. He realized that the digital world, the very realm that had once caused him so much pain, could also serve as a vessel for connection, empathy, and healing. The conversations extended beyond simple words of comfort. People shared coping mechanisms, advice on data recovery, and tips for preserving digital memories. The community became a hub of knowledge and support, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Orpheus, in turn, shared his own experiences, his process of moving from rage and despair towards acceptance and peace. His initial act of sharing Eurydice's echo had been a personal act of catharsis, a way of processing his own grief. But it evolved into something much more significant, a gesture of support, a bridge of connection between those who shared his experience. He had found a new purpose, a new form of immortality, not in the digital preservation of his lost wife, but in the lives he touched, the connections he forged, and the community he helped to build. The digital requiem became a symphony of renewal, a testament to the enduring power of human connection and the healing power of shared grief. Orpheus continued to upload new compositions, each reflecting his evolving understanding of loss and healing. He found a new rhythm in his life, a new purpose in his music. The digital space, once a source of pain, had become a canvas for his art and a platform for connection. The digital echo of Eurydice, initially a haunting reminder of loss, had now become a beacon of hope, illuminating a path towards healing for himself and for others. And that, he realized, was a far greater gift than any digital immortality could ever have been. He found his peace not in reviving a digital ghost, but in connecting with the living. His music became his legacy, not just of Eurydice, but of shared human experience. His music, a digital requiem turned symphony, became a testament to the resilience of the human heart. The digital requiem, initially a lament for a lost love, had unexpectedly blossomed into a symphony of shared grief and unexpected connection. Orpheus, initially consumed by the digital ghost of Eurydice, began to realize the limitations of his digital quest. The online community, a testament to the universality of loss, had become a vital support system, but it couldn't replace the warmth of human touch, the comforting presence of a friend, or the shared laughter with loved ones. The digital world, for all its reach and connection, remained a pale imitation of the vibrant tapestry of real-world relationships. He started spending more time with his old friends, the musicians who had once shared his stage, his laughter, his dreams. He found himself drawn back to the familiar comfort of their company, the easy banter that came with years of shared experiences. They didn't understand his digital odyssey, his battle with Hades's server room, but they understood his grief, his loss, the hollowness that had threatened to consume him. Their empathy, raw and unfiltered, was a balm to his wounded soul. One evening, sitting in his old haunt, a dimly lit tavern with the aroma of spilled beer and lingering music, Orpheus found himself surrounded by his friends. They were sharing stories, reminiscing about old gigs, their shared misadventures, the sheer joy of creating music together. He realized that these tangible connections, these shared memories etched in the fabric of real life experience, were far more valuable than any digital archive. The laughter, the camaraderie, the simple act of being present with people who loved and understood him, these were the things that truly mattered. His music, too, began to evolve. The melancholic strains of Eurydice's echo still held a place in his repertoire, a poignant reminder of his loss. But new compositions emerged, infused with a sense of renewal, of hope, of the beauty that still existed in the world. He wrote songs about the resilience of the human spirit, the power of friendship, the enduring strength of love. His music, once a digital lament, had become a celebration of life, a testament to the power of human connection. He found solace in simple things: a walk in the park, the warm embrace of the sun on his skin, the gentle murmur of the river. He rediscovered the joy of creating music, not just in the solitude of his digital studio, but in the collaborative energy of live performances. The stage, once a place of melancholic longing, became a space of vibrant connection, a bridge between himself and his audience. He connected with his listeners not through the cold mediation of a computer screen, but through the shared experience of live music, the palpable energy that pulsed between performer and audience. He visited his parents, the people who had supported him through thick and thin, who had loved him unconditionally. He found comfort in their familiar presence, in their unwavering support. He realized that the true legacy of Eurydice wasn't some digital ghost, but the love they had shared, the memories they had created, the impact she had on his life, and how those memories shaped his present self. He started volunteering at a local music school, sharing his knowledge and passion with young, aspiring musicians. He found a profound sense of purpose in nurturing their talents, in guiding them on their musical journeys. He realized that the real legacy wasn't about immortality, but about making a difference in the lives of others, about leaving a positive imprint on the world. One afternoon, sitting on a park bench, a young girl approached him, her eyes shining with admiration. She had seen him perform. She had listened to his music. She told him how his music had helped her through a difficult time, how it had given her hope. In that moment, Orpheus felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He wasn't just a musician, but a beacon of hope, a source of comfort, a purveyor of solace to the human spirit. His healing wasn't a sudden transformation, but a gradual process, a gentle shift in perspective. It wasn't a deletion of grief, but a recontextualization of loss. It was about finding new ways to honor Eurydice's memory, not through the limitations of a digital afterlife, but through living a full and meaningful life, enriched by the connections he had forged, the love he shared, and the music he created. The online community remained a part of his life, a testament to the power of shared experience, a digital echo of the human capacity for empathy and understanding. But it no longer defined him. He had found his balance, his peace, in the tangible world, in the warmth of human relationships, in the creative expression of his art, in the simple joys of everyday life. He had learned that true immortality wasn't about preserving data, but about leaving a legacy of love, connection, and inspiration. The symphony of loss had indeed given way to a symphony of renewal, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of human connection. His journey, once a digital quest for a lost love, had become a journey of self-discovery, a testament to the power of real-world connections and the enduring human capacity for healing and renewal. The digital ghost of Eurydice had faded, replaced by the vibrant reality of life, love, and the enduring legacy of his music. The memory of Eurydice lived on, not in pixels and bytes, but in the heart of a man who had learned to live again. The data had been lost, but the legacy remained, and that, he finally understood, was all that truly mattered. The scent of wood smoke and damp earth filled Orpheus's lungs as he walked along the river bank, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the gently flowing water. He hadn't been to this spot in years, a place he and Eurydice had frequented, a hidden haven tucked away from the clamor of the city. The memories, sharp and bittersweet, flooded back. The laughter, the whispered secrets, the shared silence punctuated only by the river's gentle murmur. He closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him, not with the pain of loss, but with the gentle warmth of remembrance. He no longer felt the burning need to retrieve a digital ghost, to cling to a fleeting simulation of her presence. The digital Eurydice, a pale imitation of the vibrant woman he loved, had finally relinquished her hold. He had reached a point of acceptance, not a joyful celebration of moving on, but a quiet understanding of the finality of death. It was a peace that settled deep within him, a quietude that wasn't born of numbness, but of a gradual, gentle healing. The raw, agonizing grief had ebbed, leaving behind a poignant ache, a constant reminder of her absence, yet a reminder tinged with the sweetness of cherished memories. He realized he didn't need to conquer death. He needed to live with it. He sat on a moss-covered rock, the cool stone a comforting presence against his skin. He picked up a smooth gray stone, its texture familiar and grounding. He traced the lines etched into its surface, lines carved by time and the river's relentless flow, a miniature reflection of life's own journey. The stone, a simple object, held a quiet power, a grounding force that anchored him to the present moment, a stark contrast to the ethereal unreality of his digital quest. That night, under a sky ablaze with stars, Orpheus found himself playing his lyre. He didn't play Eurydice's echo, the mournful lament that had once defined his music. Instead, his fingers danced across the strings, weaving a new melody, a song of acceptance, of resilience, of the enduring beauty of life. The notes, once filled with despair, now held a sense of peace, a quiet affirmation of life's fragile beauty. The music wasn't an erasure of his grief. It was a testament to his ability to transform it, to find beauty even in the shadow of loss. His music, once a digital lament, now resonated with a deeper, richer tone. He started to compose pieces inspired by the natural world, the whispering wind, the rustling leaves, the relentless rhythm of the ocean waves. He found solace in the intricate patterns of nature, a reminder that even in chaos there exists a delicate balance, a cycle of loss and renewal. He wrote a symphony inspired by the changing seasons, each movement reflecting a different stage of grief. The initial shock and denial of winter, the raw pain of spring's thaw, the slow acceptance of summer's warmth, and the quiet contemplation of autumn's golden hues. Orpheus discovered a new appreciation for the simplicity of things. He found joy in tending his small garden, nurturing the fragile seedlings, watching them grow and blossom. He found comfort in the quiet solitude of his small cottage, its walls filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the gentle hum of classical music. His home, once a sanctuary filled with the digital ghost of Eurydice, was now a haven of peace, a place where he could reconnect with himself and the world around him. He started painting again, a passion he had neglected during his digital odyssey. He used rich, vibrant colors, capturing the essence of nature's beauty. The fiery hues of a sunset, the delicate shades of a wildflower, the deep blues of a twilight sky. His art became a form of therapy, a way to express the emotions he couldn't articulate in words. He found that his paintings reflected not only his grief, but also the burgeoning hope that bloomed in the aftermath of loss. They were canvases of both sorrow and renewal, the vibrant colors a testament to life's resilience. He revisited his old friends, not just the musicians, but also those from his childhood, his college days, his early career. He found in their company a sense of belonging, a comforting familiarity. They listened patiently, offering not platitudes but genuine empathy. They understood that grief wasn't something to be overcome quickly, but something to be navigated, a path to be walked slowly, carefully, with kindness and understanding. One evening, while sitting by a crackling fire with his closest friends, Orpheus felt a profound sense of gratitude. He was surrounded by people who loved him, who accepted his pain, who supported him in his journey of healing. He realized that true solace wasn't found in digital simulations or virtual realities. It was found in the tangible embrace of human connection. He began to volunteer at a local hospice, offering comfort and solace to those facing their own mortality. Through this act of service, he found a deeper understanding of his own grief and a profound sense of purpose. He discovered that by helping others navigate the complexities of loss, he was also healing himself. His relationship with his parents deepened. He spent more time with them, sharing stories, reminiscing about old times. He recognized the enduring strength of their love, a love that had never wavered, a love that had sustained him through his darkest moments. He realized that their unconditional love had been a constant throughout his life, a source of unwavering support, a silent affirmation of his worth. The digital world remained, of course, but it held less power over him. He still engaged with the online community he'd forged, sharing his experiences and offering support to others grappling with their own losses. But it was no longer the defining aspect of his life. He had found his center, his balance, not in the virtual world, but in the tangible reality of human connection, in the beauty of the natural world, in the creative expression of his art and music, and in the quiet contentment of a life lived fully and authentically. The finality of Eurydice's absence was now a quiet acceptance, a gentle acknowledgement of life's transient nature. The symphony of loss had indeed culminated in a symphony of renewal, a harmonious blend of sorrow and hope, a testament to the human spirit's resilience. The digital ghost was gone, but the memory of Eurydice, her laughter, her warmth, her love remained etched in his heart, a cherished treasure he carried with him, a source of inspiration and strength. He had learned that true immortality wasn't measured in gigabytes or terabytes, but in the ripple effect of love and the enduring legacy of a life well lived. The data might be lost, but the love, the memories, the music, those remained, woven into the fabric of his being, a timeless testament to a love that transcended even death itself. He understood finally that the real journey wasn't about retrieving a digital ghost, but about living a life worthy of the love he had known. And that, he knew, was a journey worth undertaking. The crisp autumn air invigorated Orpheus as he walked through the bustling farmer's market. The vibrant colors of the pumpkins, the earthy scent of freshly tilled soil, the cheerful chatter of vendors and customers. It was a sensory feast that he hadn't fully appreciated before. He found himself drawn to a stall overflowing with sunflowers, their faces turned towards the sun, a silent testament to life's persistent optimism. He bought a bouquet, their bright yellow a stark contrast to the muted grays that had once dominated his world. That evening he found himself sketching the sunflowers, their bold strokes filling his canvas with a vibrant energy. He hadn't felt this creative surge in months, a potent reminder of the healing power of art. The strokes of his charcoal, once hesitant and somber, now flowed with a newfound confidence. He felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet contentment that permeated his being. He wasn't trying to recreate Eurydice on the canvas. He was creating something new, something born from the ashes of his grief. It wasn't a replacement, but a testament to his capacity for growth and renewal. His music also took on a new direction. He joined a local chamber orchestra, his lyre contributing to the intricate tapestry of sound. The collaborative nature of the ensemble was surprisingly therapeutic, a shared experience that transcended the individual. The music he played, though still infused with a lingering melancholy, now held notes of hope and resilience. He learned to appreciate the beauty of collective creation, the harmonious blend of individual talents creating something far greater than the sum of its parts. He found a camaraderie amongst his fellow musicians, a shared understanding that went beyond the notes on the page. They weren't just colleagues, they were friends, sharing laughter, stories, and the occasional late-night pizza after a particularly demanding rehearsal. He discovered a passion for pottery, the rhythmic turning of the wheel a meditative practice. The cool, yielding clay felt grounding, a physical manifestation of his journey from the ethereal unreality of the digital underworld back to the tangible world. He created simple bowls and vases, each piece a unique expression of his evolving emotional landscape. The imperfections, the subtle irregularities, were not flaws, but reminders of life's beautiful unpredictability. He began to sell his creations at local craft fairs, a surprisingly rewarding experience that connected him to the community in a new and meaningful way. The positive feedback, the genuine appreciation for his work, fueled his creative spirit. Orpheus sought new friendships, forging connections with people outside his usual circle. He joined a hiking group, exploring the hidden trails of the nearby mountains. The physical exertion was cathartic, the breathtaking views a constant reminder of nature's enduring beauty. He discovered a shared love of nature with his new hiking companions, conversations flowing freely amongst the rustling leaves and the melodic chirping of birds. He found himself laughing again, sharing stories and creating lasting bonds, discovering a deep sense of belonging he hadn't anticipated. Their shared experiences, both challenging and rewarding, fostered a profound sense of connection. He enrolled in a creative writing workshop, surprised by his own burgeoning talent for crafting narratives. He poured his experiences, his grief, his healing into his stories, using words as another canvas for self-expression. The workshop offered not only a supportive environment but also a critical eye, guiding him to refine his craft. The feedback, while occasionally challenging, was always constructive, encouraging him to explore new literary techniques, to experiment with different styles, to find his unique voice. He even started a blog, sharing his short stories and his experiences with loss and healing, connecting with a wider online audience who related to his journey. His relationship with his family blossomed. He spent more time with his aging parents, helping them with chores, listening patiently to their stories. He learned to appreciate their unwavering love, their quiet resilience in the face of life's inevitable challenges. The shared meals, the quiet evenings spent reminiscing, were precious moments, filled with a profound sense of connection. He understood that their love wasn't just a constant, it was a foundation, a source of strength that had always been there, silently supporting him. He realized he hadn't fully appreciated their love before his ordeal. He volunteered at a local animal shelter, finding solace in the unconditional love of the furry creatures. The playful antics of the kittens, the gentle nudges of the dogs, brought a smile to his face, a welcome respite from the heavier emotions he still carried. He discovered a hidden talent for training dogs, finding satisfaction in the progress he saw in each animal. He found a surprising sense of purpose in this selfless act, a way to give back, to connect with life on a different level. He even started attending local community theater performances, finding inspiration in the stories shared on stage. The vibrancy of the performances, the raw emotion conveyed by the actors, awakened a part of him he thought had been dormant. He began attending rehearsals, offering his artistic skills to design the sets and lighting, using his creative abilities to enhance the storytelling. This provided another avenue of human connection, working alongside actors, directors, and stage crew in a collaborative environment. He developed deep respect for their dedication, their passion for bringing stories to life. Orpheus's new life wasn't a simple erasure of his grief. The memory of Eurydice, the pain of her loss, still lingered, a quiet ache in the background. But it was no longer the dominant theme of his existence. It was woven into the fabric of his life, a part of his story, but not the whole story. He had learned to live with the sorrow, to integrate it into the tapestry of his existence. He had found new ways to express his emotions, to channel his grief into creative energy, to find joy in the simple things, and to cultivate meaningful relationships. He realized that renewal wasn't about forgetting Eurydice. It was about honoring her memory by living a full and meaningful life. It was about embracing the present, cherishing the connections he had, and finding beauty in the world around him. The digital ghost was gone, but the essence of Eurydice, her love, her laughter, her memory remained, a powerful and enduring force that shaped his life, inspiring him to create, to connect, to live fully and authentically. His journey was a testament to the human spirit's capacity for resilience, for adaptation, and for the unwavering pursuit of happiness and peace, even amidst the deepest sorrow. He had learned that the true symphony of life was not a single mournful lament, but a complex and ever-evolving composition, a harmonious blend of loss and renewal, a testament to the enduring power of love and the resilience of the human spirit. The digital age may have failed him once, but the richness of the human experience in all its complexity and beauty had finally truly begun. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of fiery orange and soft lavender. Orpheus stood on a windswept hill overlooking the valley, the air crisp and cool against his skin. Below him, the town lights twinkled like fallen stars, a comforting contrast to the vast star-studded expanse above. He felt a profound sense of peace, a stillness that settled deep within his bones. It wasn't the absence of pain. The memory of Eurydice still held a tender ache in his heart, but the ache was now a familiar companion, a part of his landscape, not the landscape itself. He thought of the digital underworld, of Hades' temperamental server room, and the frustratingly slow data transfer that had ultimately cost him Eurydice, at least in her digital form. The memory brought a wry smile to his lips. It had been a ridiculous, almost comical odyssey, a modern-day myth played out in the sterile environment of a data center. He chuckled softly, the sound carried away on the evening breeze. It was a journey he wouldn't want to repeat, but one that had ultimately taught him profound lessons about loss, resilience, and the ultimately ephemeral nature of digital existence. His gaze drifted upwards towards the vast expanse of the night sky. The countless stars seemed to shimmer with a quiet brilliance, each a tiny spark in the infinite darkness. He thought of the cloud above, the metaphorical space where our digital lives reside, a realm as vast and unknowable as the universe itself. It was a world of fleeting data, of transient information, a place where things could vanish with a simple glitch or a corrupted file. He had learned in the hardest possible way that such a world could never truly hold the weight of human emotion, the depth of human connection. He had come to understand that the real world, with all its imperfections and uncertainties, was infinitely more valuable. The tangible connections he'd forged, the relationships he had cultivated, the creative passions he'd rediscovered, these were the things that truly mattered, the things that endured. The sunflowers in his garden, now bowing their heads in the twilight, the comforting weight of the clay in his hands, the laughter shared with friends during a hike along the mountain trails. These were the moments that defined him, the moments that held real substance and meaning. His music had evolved too. He no longer sought to recreate Eurydice's digital essence through his compositions. Instead, he explored new themes, his melodies reflecting the complex tapestry of his emotions, the lingering sorrow, the burgeoning hope, the enduring power of love. His music had become a reflection of his journey, a testament to his capacity for growth and adaptation. He played for others now, sharing his music with a wider audience, connecting with them on a deeper level through the shared language of emotion expressed in sound. His performances were not mere exhibitions of skill, but heartfelt stories, tales of loss and renewal that resonated with his listeners. He thought about his creative writing, the narratives he'd crafted, pouring his experiences, his emotions onto the digital page, creating stories that he then bravely shared. The online community, initially a source of caution and uncertainty, had ultimately become a network of support, a space where he could connect with others who had experienced similar loss and discovered the redemptive power of storytelling. He realized that sharing his journey, his struggle, and his eventual healing wasn't merely a form of catharsis, it was a way of connecting with the world, a way of offering hope to others navigating their own paths of grief. His relationship with his family had deepened. He found himself spending more time with his parents, savoring simple moments, cherishing the quiet companionship. He'd come to appreciate the steadfast love they'd always offered, a constant and unwavering source of strength that he'd previously overlooked. He realized that their support hadn't been less significant before Eurydice's loss. He'd merely been too focused on his digital quest to fully recognize it. Family dinners, once occasions filled with routine and polite conversation, became sacred moments of shared laughter and heartfelt connection. The animal shelter remained a sanctuary, a space where he found solace in the unconditional love of the animals. He continued his dog training, finding satisfaction in the progress of each creature under his care. The animals provided a perspective devoid of judgment, an acceptance that he found profoundly healing. The unconditional love he received from them was a powerful antidote to the pain that still lingered, a gentle reminder that he was loved, cherished, and worthy of happiness. The creative writing workshops continued, offering a space for growth, for reflection, and for the honing of his craft. His storytelling had evolved from raw, emotional outbursts to carefully constructed narratives, infused with a deeper understanding of character development and plot structure. He had discovered a voice unique to him, expressing the intricate details of his emotions and experience. His blog continued to grow, attracting a loyal following who resonated with his journey. He had become a source of inspiration, hope, and strength for others navigating similar trials. The internet, once the site of his greatest failure, had become a platform for connection, empathy, and healing. He looked down at the twinkling lights of the town, each a tiny beacon of life, of human connection. He thought of the digital realm, its ethereal nature, and its inability to fully capture the richness, the depth, the complexity of the human spirit. The cloud above, while a powerful tool, A vast repository of information and communication could never truly replicate the tangible beauty of a sunset, the warmth of a human touch, the sound of shared laughter. Orpheus understood finally the true meaning of renewal. It wasn't about erasing the past, forgetting Eurydice, or denying the pain of his loss. It was about integrating those experiences, integrating that grief into the fabric of his life, allowing it to inform his present and shape his future. It was about cherishing the connections he had, nurturing those relationships, and finding joy in the simple things, the beauty of nature, the solace of art, the warmth of human connection. It was about embracing the ever-evolving symphony of life, a composition woven with both loss and renewal, a testament to the resilient human spirit's capacity for love, adaptation, and ultimately, peace. The digital ghost was gone, but the essence of life, vibrant and powerful, remained. The cloud above might be vast and seemingly infinite, but the human heart was far vaster, its capacity for love and healing exceeding even the most advanced technology. And in that realization, Orpheus found not just peace, but a profound and enduring joy. He had found his way back to life, not just surviving, but truly living. The future stretched before him, expansive and hopeful, a canvas waiting for his next brushstrokes, his next melody, his next story. And this time, he knew it wouldn't be a download. It would be a life fully lived, a testament to love, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit.